thank you everyone for joining us for another Twitter Space. Today is September 7th, 2022, and this is episode 11 of the ledgerscale Internet of Value focused topic. Now, ledgerscale Foundation was founded with two goals in mind. One, we want to provide educational services to not only our community, but to the entire digital asset community and to help scale up the number of brains that understand how distributed ledger technology works. And two, we intend to one day run hardware to provide infrastructural support to the distributed ledger technology networks that we believe are ESG friendly and running a form of decentralized consensus. Now we host these spaces Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, starting at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and on Wednesday we host a focus topic space from 5 to 6. And our topic today is going to be going over Flare networks and the various protocols and capabilities of the network. And if I could just ask if everyone could give us a follow on Twitter at ledgerscale, turn those notifications on so you know we're going live, and as well as hit the bubble box at the bottom right there and give a like and a retweet to the space so that hopefully other people can find this information valuable in the future. And so I'm here by myself today. Karma is at Apex, so he's enjoying. And I hope he's having a great time watching all of the great speakers and the information that's going on there. But if anybody has any questions, if they'd like to come up from the start, if they have any specific things they'd like to ask about Flare, please feel free to. And if not, I'm just going to kind of just start at the various stages of the life of Flare so far, Songbird and Flare, I should say. And I'll take it from there when anybody has any questions. But welcome up, Too Cold.
Yes, thank you for having me. Did I hit the request button? I don't remember that. But
I might have invited you. I probably invited you as well. So
okay, thank you for having me. Appreciate
yeah.
it, Doctor Death Ranger.
Is there any questions you have right off the top of your head, or anything that you've wondered about Flare, or should I just start diving into things a little bit, and maybe we'll pick it up a little bit later?
Yeah, just go ahead, do your thing, because I think my question has to do with do we think that what's gonna happen next week on the ledger, will that how's that gonna play a part in the Flare ecosystem and all of that? So yeah, just do your thing.
Yeah, definitely. We could definitely get to that. Yeah, for sure. I got you. All right, so I'll go over basically the basics of what Flare and Songbird particularly is today. And so there are multiple characteristics of a blockchain and how the blockchain can come to an agreement of validation of a transaction. And so one of those methods is called the Federated Byzantine Agreement, which is the same type of consensus the XRP ledger uses. And so the team developing the Flare network saw the capabilities of this type of consensus and wanted to incorporate it into an environment where the Ethereum virtual machine, which is Solidity is the language it is written in. It's a smart contract language, right? That we know of, that is basically of what Ethereum is, right? EVM. And so they've combined the Federated Byzantine Agreement with the capabilities of having a EVM smart contract standard, as well as put together forcing the nodes that come to consensus on the network to also act as oracles to the network. And so an oracle service is a price feed or set of information that comes from the outside world to the inside world of the blockchain, because blockchains do not communicate with the outside world. And so you need a service or a platform to be able to bring this information in. And so when we what we have today with Songbird, the canary network of Flare, is the combination of the three: Federated Byzantine Agreement for consensus, EVM smart contract standard capability, and then the ability to have an Oracle service as Chainlink would provide for Ethereum today. And so I'm sure everybody here and everybody listening in the future understands that those three as a combination is something that's pretty remarkable as we have it today. And so Flare did is they released this as a canary network, and began working on what I would call like the next stages of the interoperability between blockchains of what they wanted to achieve. And so we have the next set of protocols, which are the F asset or an FS asset protocol, depending on if you're on Songbird and Flare, which is really just the smart contract, which is the representation of wrapped assets on another network. We have the state connector protocol, which an easy way to describe the state connector protocol would be it at any time can prove all states on a blockchain. And so what does this mean? Right? What it really means is if you need to and you have wrapped assets from one network to the next, right? You need to query the blockchains that those assets exist on so that you can always know that that asset is where it is supposed to be on the said other blockchain, and you don't have the fear of something what we would call like a double spend or a double send. Um, and so, what this protocol acts is basically a quick query to other blockchains and other states um, to query information from to prove the state of that information. This also can be pushed even further to what we would call attestation providers, where they could also provide these types of information from APIs that connect to Web 2 sources. And so, um, really trying to bridge that interoperability to not only from blockchains but to Web 2 sources also. The next thing that they had put into there was, which is probably the biggest thing, I would say the most important way of keeping these states of being able to have wrapped assets from one network to the next in a decentralized and insured manner, which is the biggest thing that we see with wrapped assets nowadays, because anyone can recreate an asset on another blockchain, but how safe is that, right? How trusted can we represent that source as? And so with the layer cake protocol, which is the next protocol to the addition of protocols they have, this acts as a an enabler to protect those who are wrapping assets and bringing them onto the network, making it so that there's a smart contract which always holds the assets, and having an agent which is providing the collateral for you to be able to wrap your asset onto the network, being held to a standard of 2.5x, and that's what we're starting off with, I think, when the network goes live, of any collateral that they are representing on the network. And so in the case of a bad actor or somebody who is trying to steal the tokens and run away, the network would actually reward you with a 4%, I think it is, bonus on top of taking the collateral away from that agent or provider for the attempt to try and harm somebody. Uh, it the only downside to this is that if something like that were to happen, you are rewarded back into the asset, the native asset of the blockchain. So say if this happened on Songbird, it would be in the Songbird token. If this happened on Flare, you would be rewarded back in the Flare token, and it should be representative plus 4% of the assets of value that you had locked to bring onto the network. Now, there is always inherent fears when using any DeFi product to say your asset shoots up, 20,000% in 5 minutes, right? If that's the if there's a possibility of that, um, you know, any DeFi system is at risk because there's just not enough collateral and to hold people accountable for saying representing some sort of value like that. Other than that, the system is probably, in my opinion, the safest way to wrap assets and to bring them onto another network so far. And so this kind of leads to what you were saying before Too Cold, right? How you said when NFTs finally launch XLS20, could Flare maybe play this role as another bridge? And so I would say yes, in the sense of NFTs for the most part, especially how David Schwartz, he put it so well this morning. He said, for most use cases that have to do with for NFTs, which is probably 80 to 90% of use cases, you'll be fine with using XLS20, right? But if you want to have a smart contract that can mate two different NFTs, say you have two different horse NFTs, right, or an whatever weird thing you're doing, you're going to need something with more smart contract logic capabilities. And so this is where maybe being able to have a wrapped asset represented on another network, and then maybe having an EVM smart contract, you would be able to have those capabilities. And so yeah, you know, it's totally going to be doable, I think. And I think the bridges to the XRP ledger is definitely something that Flare has set out from day one, that they wanted to achieve this interoperable connect everything state. And so I think the XRP ledger was number one category for connecting first to. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they'd like to say? Anything from that? I know I spoke a lot, and that was only about 10 minutes, which is really crazy. I didn't actually think I could do that much information in 10 minutes. But any questions? Anything you're wondering? Anything you'd rather me go over again, or not? I can just start digging more into different aspects of the network. I'll send a couple invites out, and I'll give it like 20 or 30 seconds before I carry on. I'm surprised you guys can listen to my voice like this, but for so long by itself. Oh, there you go. Got a question. Go ahead, man. Crypto Red Eye.
Hey, how's it going? um, so on XLS 20, as far as the royalties go, you can only distribute to one person until hooks. Am I understanding this right?
Yeah, I'm not. Even with hooks, right? Unless you were writing a hook that was to say your NFT sold, right, and so you had it, so the hook was sent that it would automatically send a transaction to somebody else. Yeah, it's the royalty will always only go to one person, and typically it's going to go to the artist or the creator.
Okay, I'm just curious because sometimes there's multiple people in on a project, and royalties got to be distributed in percentages.
I am sorry about that. What was that, Crypto Red Eye?
Yeah, because like sometimes, like as far as music goes, like a music NFT, there could be like multiple artists, so like royalties would need to be distributed in percentages.
Yeah, and so in this aspect, right, if there were multiple um, artists, say there was a singular project, you would probably have one wallet, right, and it would go to that wallet, and then so to be divided up, then, and you could even do it that you set a multi-sig for that one wallet, so the one wallet can only be accessed by multi-sig, and so you don't have to worry about somebody one of the people in the group trying to rob the others or something like that. So that's definitely a capability that's already doable on the XRP ledger when XLS 20 goes live, if you'd want to do something like that. But yeah, until hooks for sure.
But you wouldn't be able to have it distribute automatically. You'd have to distribute it from the main wallet yourself, right?
Correct. Yes, because that, just like we're like Flare with the EVM smart contract logic, right? There's that logic does not exist on the XRP ledger, and will not exist on the XRP ledger for some time for sure. And even hooks is just like it's still like little snippets of what smart contract logic is. It's not a full on smart contract. But Steak, thank you for coming up, man. Go ahead. I know you always got questions.
Well, this time I don't have any questions. I'm just vibing here. I just wanted to say job well done for giving out all that information in such a coherent manner, man. Well done, and thanks for doing that. No questions, just vibing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was kind of actually surprised at myself there for a second. Which, so brings me to another thing, right? NFTs in general. And so, the validity of NFTs is very questionable. And somebody brought this up to me the other day. They were like, funny people say NFTs, they're in the Web3 space. And I'm like, and they're like, but the data's on the Web 2. And I'm like, you make such a good point. It's like, it's very funny. And so this Web 2 data, though, right? If it's stored in it's a storage facility or storage data facility, and it's pointing by an IPFS, that data can be changed. And so how do we prove the state of that data at that time to, without reasonable doubt, can always prove that, say, if you had to prove that you were the owner of that NFT, or you need to prove that that transaction was valid on the chain at that point in time, beyond reasonable doubt of the chain itself. And so it brings in these hybrid post quantum digital signatures. And so this scheme that they've written out for the Ethereum virtual machine, which it's basically a secure digital signature, and in order to authenticate transactions, today these are implemented using elliptic curve cryptography. But the quantum computers, and more precisely Shor's algorithm, threaten the integrity of elliptic curve digital signatures and thus endanger the security of EVM smart contracts. So national security agencies advise to move to a post-quantum cryptography standard and schemes. And so they will propose a modification to the EVM transaction types. Specifically, they'll introduce a new transaction type with an additional to the elliptical curve signature, include a post-quantum signature. And they call this deterministic crystallis dilithium level 2, which if you look that up, it's basically
I have.
yeah, it's like the new one of the new quantum resistant codes that they are trying to release to the public.
Yeah, the math behind it is pretty brilliant. They've been researching that since 2017.
Yeah, the mathematicians behind this stuff is the high level beyond understanding sometimes.
Yeah, it's something I had my mind on looking into a little bit more, but I really need to get some time off to
Yeah,
sit down for that.
it's deep because the mathematics, right? It's together with the hash of both signatures is really how you can enable this quantum resistant and proof of state. And so I think it's going to be going key not only for Flare but for any smart contract platform going forward in the future. I just like that they are implementing this early on, right on, to get right into it, and so they want to make sure that this is not only quantum resistant, but you know that next step of being able to prove authenticity behind NFTs, which I think is going to be so important going forward in the future, especially if we were going to have things like digital ID and um, all of the various things that I think will be capable with NFTs in the short term. But one other thing about Flare that has really attracted me is the partnerships with the actual Global Esports Federation, which the Global Esports Federation is the largest gaming federation on the entire Earth. They have something like a over 1.1 billion worth of value of gaming that I think a cohesion that goes through them a year. And so I think having that partnership and having this fan football, which I don't know if you guys like the fan football, they're participating in having a team in live fan football where we build a decentralized team. We get to vote for players, what positions they play, etc., things like that. I think I think the gaming aspect is going to be something that is so huge for Flare because of the interoperability with other blockchains. Because if you want to have a game that can attract the people on HBAR and the people on Algorand and the people on the XRP ledger, well, you could essentially just use Flare, right? And you could have access to all of those communities and be able to cater to all of them. And so I think these connect everything mentality is really going to do well for them in the long run. Anybody have any questions or wondering anything they'd like to say either? Feel free. So if anybody would like, we could go into the attestation. FTSO providers, and then maybe what it is to be like an attestation provider. And so, an FTSO provider. What are the FTSOs or STSOs? So they call them the time series oracles, right? And so these nodes, which not only provide consensus to the validation of blocks on the blockchain, they also act as a data provider. So they bring a price feed from the outside world to the inside world, and then they are rewarded based on the accuracy of the price feed that they are able to bring into the blockchain. And so they were able to create this decentralized manner where they have a very large amount. I'm impressed that in such a short period of time of data providers, which are providing consensus to the blockchain and a price feed, and in a decentralized manner, because each FTSO can never have any more than 10% on Songbird, and it will be 2.5% on Flare of the actual voting power towards any sort of consensus on the network. On top of, if they all have a majority of the votes, so say they're providing such good price feed data, and so they have so much more power on the network, they're actually penalized for having too many votes at any one epoch, which is a 7-day period on Songbird, which is when you would delegate your vote. And over the 7 days, you would receive a delegation reward based on how well the FTSO that you delegated to is providing a price feed data to the network. So, in a decentralized manner, they've been able to accomplish a system where there's an economic structure to reward good participants of the network, to reward good behavior, and to allow everybody to be able to participate in this type of governance at the same time. Now, an agent of Flare or Songbird. What will the role of an agent will be? An agent will be one of the providers, which will most likely be exchanges and FTSOs to start off with, that'll be providing collateral and a DApp, which is a decentralized application, for the wrapping process from one network to the next. And so agents themselves will be the ones liable for providing that collateral. They've done something great where Songbird and Flare, you could actually act as an agent yourself. If you would like to build a DApp yourself and you would like to provide collateral for yourself or for others to bring their assets onto the network, you can do that and you can charge a fee for it. Or you can just use one of the agents that I think will probably have a decentralized application built pretty quickly when the network goes live, and you'll probably be able to bring your asset on as long as the collateral is there for it to be provided to bring your asset onto the network. It's a very interesting dynamic because some people think that they'll be able to bring all of the F assets on and other assets from other networks right away. There's a problem to that because if the price of the asset, say Songbird or Flare, is not substantial enough to be able to provide the collateral ratio for those tokens, then it's not possible to happen. The network won't let it happen because of the fear of the inherent not being collateralized. And so there's this interesting maybe value dynamic that might have to occur with Flare or Songbird for there to be F assets and S assets to exist on these networks. Now, attestation provider. An attestation provider is somebody who is accessing information from other states of blockchain or other states of APIs on Web 2 settings and providing that information through Flare to the other sources or vice versa and charging a fee for doing so. Once again, most likely FTSOs and maybe exchanges, probably not, will probably participate in something like this. I think this is a really good moment for some Web 2 sources and businesses to kind of try and like jump in and provide that to get into the blockchain space. I think that would be quite interesting to see if that happens. But attestation providers, that's really the source of the validity of what the attestation provider will be doing. Let's think. What else is there that I could go over so far? Is there anything anybody has any questions right now? Anything anybody else is wondering that I've said that didn't make sense or they'd like me to go back over?
And I just had one question. I was going back to one of the things you mentioned earlier. You said something about if the asset would have jumped like 10,000% or something, we wouldn't be able to get it out. Or can you go further into that? I know Hugo and David went into that into detail, but yeah, that was such a long time ago. So I was just wondering if you can go more into detail of that.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so the thought is if you are wrapping your asset, right, you're handing it over to an agent. Now it's in a smart contract, right, but doesn't mean that somebody can't try and take that out of the smart contract if they have access to it. This agent, for say you wrap $1 of US value, right? They must provide at all periods of time 2.5x of that value so that the ratio is collateralized on the network. Just in case the inherent right price drop or a bad actor tries to take funds or anything like that, right? You need to have the enough collateral on the network to be able to provide such things from happening. If the asset was to say jump up 20,000%, right, in a matter of minutes, and the agent took those assets, the XRP in this instance or whatever it is, and they took those assets and they ran. Well, when they're penalized from the songbird or flare that has been taken from them, that value may not equalize what your assets were that was lost because it had such a fast spike up that whoever the bad actor was took it, ran, and the collateral that you were given did not equal what it would have been had you had kept those assets. And so um, there is always that problem. That's a more of like a DeFi problem in general, right? Um, do you think your assets are going to go up, 20, 30,000% in 5 minutes? I think it's theoretically non existent to happen, but there's always that inherent fear, right? And so you have to always remember that the assets are being represented on another blockchain, being held by an agent that is providing collateral for them to be there. If they think that they're going to make billions of dollars comparably to making a couple $100,000 by providing collateral, right? Well, any person would be stuck in that position where, oh my god, I'm going to take this and run. And so that's the fear, if that makes sense.
Cool, got it. Thank you, man.
Did that make sense to everybody else also? I go with the yes. I'm just sending invites out to people again. If you guys don't have to accept it if you don't want to, but if you would like to come up, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to hit the request to come up. We're talking about Flare today, Flare networks, all the possibilities, capabilities, long-term future, and the protocols themselves. And as well, if I could ask if everybody could just follow us on Twitter at ledgerscale, turn those notifications on so you know we're going live, and retweet the space, please.
Hi, hi, Death. How you doing?
Hey, welcome up. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I posted a question in the notes. I wanted to know, is there going to be any functional relationship or correlation or any sort of issues if when Flare goes live? What's going to happen? What would be the situation like between Flare and Songbird?
Very good question. That's a very good question. That's something I should have thought of. Thank you, man. And so this is actually an aspect that I think I'm one of the most excited for, because I think that Songbird, right, is really what it was designed for. The Canary network, right? The test network, almost in this test bed. I think the promotion of being able to have people really mess around on Songbird first, and then have more of like an institutional grade um, service where everything is defined and tested on Flare, is going to really promote the usage of Songbird at first, and also force the two networks to go in two different directions. And so yes, today they may be running the same protocols and starting off with all of the same kind of functions. There are a couple different like inflationary metrics and voting statistic kind of things that are different from Songbird and Flare, but yeah, I think they're both going to have different ecosystems and different things going on long term. I don't think Songbird is going anywhere personally, and I think there's going to be a lot of popularity with Songbird than before there is Flare. You could even say it in the aspect of everybody's waited for Flare to come out for so long, but Songbird, you go to the Songbird Explorer, and I mean, I'll look it up real quick, right? But if you want to like trust the network a little bit more, right? 42 million transactions have occurred, 22 million blocks. There's 400,000 addresses at least almost. So you have a little bit of validity behind like the how long the network's been running for. But yeah, it was a good question. That's a good one to.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for your response.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming up with the question. It was a good one because it's something that I think everybody should wonder, especially if you're already participating in Songbird. It's like, so what's going to happen with us now? But yeah, I think for me, all eyes on Songbird when Flare launches, and then we'll see this great double ecosystem build out for both of them. Oceanzo, welcome up, man. You wondering anything? And Lady K, welcome up.
Yeah, hey Ranger. Yeah, I was hearing you talk about um how Flare will have quantum scalability. Could you talk more on that?
I don't know if I'd use the term quantum scalability, but yeah, somewhat of a quantum resistance. And we would call this being able to prove the state of a signature on the network, or validation of said transaction on the network beyond reasonable means. Um, would you like me to read a little the dissertation that I kind of read earlier? If I'm not sure if you heard it.
Yeah, if you can, please.
Yeah, so EVM today relies on a secure digital signature in order to authenticate transactions. These are implemented using an elliptic curve cryptography. So quantum computers, and more precisely, it's called Shor's algorithm, which is a algorithm that was written, which is, if used by a quantum computer, would be very harmful to a lot of the blockchains that exist today. And so they threaten the integrity of the elliptic curve digital signatures and thus endanger the security of EVM. So national security agencies advised to move to a post-quantum cryptography standard, and the scheme of the proposed modification to the EVM transaction type, they introduce a new transaction type, which is in addition to the elliptical curve, so keeping the same format of how the elliptical curve happens today, but including a post-quantum signature. So they call this deterministic crystallis dilithium level 2. And so it's a Steak was just, oh, he must have left, but it's a algorithm that has been released. There's 4 algorithms that have been released by a company called Nosh, and they are post quantum resistant algorithms to try and prevent quantum computers from being able to break into wallets and blockchains, and various encrypted information and data. So together with the hash of both signatures, you can enable this quantum resistant digital proof that the validation of what you were trying to prove is 100% certain without reasonable doubt when quantum computers exist. And so this enables the efficiency of EVM to persist while preserving the speed in the settings of the network that they've created. Now stop me and
Yeah.
rewind me if you need me to go over any of that again.
No. Yeah, I understand that. So in terms of XRPL and Flare, what would be, at least in your point of view or opinion, the best one to be creating like dApps or DeFi protocols?
Well, if it's a DApp or a DeFi protocol, you're going to have to use a different network other than the XRP ledger, because those capabilities, like the smart logic capabilities of a smart contract, don't exist on the XRP ledger. And so you'd have to use a different network if you wanted to build like a DeFi app. So I would definitely say Songbird or Flare, especially if you are already using Solidity. You could go right into keeping your EVM smart contract standard while being able to have this reassurance that there's more safety behind it in the future.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was asking because I think I saw somewhere that with XLS 20, that was going to allow people to be able to develop dApps and DeFi on XRP, but I don't know how accurate that is or how
No,
that
so,
works.
so it's a NFT standard, and so you'll be able to have NFTs that exist on the network, and so primarily, pretty much like David Schwartz said it earlier today, but like 80 to 90% of NFT use case that's done and used today, um, XLS 20D will be able to handle that. But there are certain use cases that say in this case, say you want to create an NFT and you want to create a staking capability for that NFT in your own dApp and have some sort of reward behind that and maybe like a little game or something, right? You're not going to be able to do that with the logic that exists on the XRP ledger, and so you'd have to be able to use a network where you could write a full on smart contract for that logic and build your dApp around that smart contract and such. Um, Now, if you were a financial institution, and you wanted to provide that type of service for participants of the XRP ledger, I mean, I'm sure if you had all the licenses and stuff like that, you could build your own application. Doesn't have to be a dApp. Doesn't really matter. But that is a lot of red tape, credit investor stuff. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Not really the easy way to do it. And so we have a couple of things, right? Like on the XRP ledger today that kind of stay like staking or right receive a reward for locking it up. But in all essential, they're really just sending you an airdrop for you still holding the token because that logic doesn't exist.
Yeah, so basically you'd have to, if I understood correctly, just to repeat it back, like build the dApp on a separate program like Flare possibly, and basically use it XRP as a like a token, so like a token gated dApp, right? In a sense, to interact with it.
Well, yeah. Well, I would say you could use FXRP, so you could build a dApp, which is an application, right? And then so you could build this application that interacts with the smart contract on Flare or Songbird, and that smart contract could have a whole bunch of different functions. Say maybe you could even allow FXRP because you could have a wrap version of XRP on Flare to use in your dApp. But on the XRP ledger itself, that wouldn't work because in most cases, the logic functions of whatever you want your dApp to be able to do, it does not exist on the XRP ledger.
Yeah. So when's Flare being released?
So it should be. I was hopefully this month. It could be next month, but we're very close, right? They're really what we're waiting for is just the network to be fully decentralized, and so it's up, it's running, and the nodes, the FTSOs are getting on board. They're getting paid out already, right? They're providing price feed to the network. It's just they're waiting till they're less than 33% of the consensus of the network, and so they'll do the distribution. Then we have the vote on proposal one. I'm not sure if you've seen the proposal. I can go over it if you would like. And that's it. Yeah, network will be live then, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, yeah, going over it.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be
So initial distribution is, and it's still going to be the same. Would be we would receive our 15% because if you remember, Flare was a 1-for-1 or technically 1-for-1.0073, I think it was, per token you held of XRP on 12/12/2020. And so you would receive that initial 15%, and then over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, you'd receive about 2 to 3% of that allocation per month, depending on how much you had until you were, fulfilled the 100%. This proposal, actually, and I agree with it. What it does is it will have everybody have the initial 15% distributed to them, and if you would like to participate in the network, you will receive the next 85%, or actually I think it'll end up being a lot more than that now. And so what they've done is if you don't participate and wrap your token delegate in a wallet, right, where the network can read it, um, you'll have your 85% taken and being put into a pool. And so everybody's 85% is being put into a pool together, and so those who delegate and wrap their tokens will receive tokens equivalent to the percentage of what's left in the pool. And so you could think of it this way: most of the people who aren't going to participate are going to be the exchanges because they're market makers. They're in it for sells and buys and sells. They're made to make some money. And so if there are billions and billions of tokens that don't get wrapped and delegated, everybody who takes their tokens, their initial 15%, and goes and wraps and delegates it, they'll receive all of the tokens that were going to go to the exchanges and the people that don't participate. And so I think you could end up getting like a 1 for 7 per whatever you were going to get on 12/12/2020. Don't quote me on that number, but it could be vast depending on how many people take their tokens off of the network. It could also be 1 for 1, but we know for at least it's 1 for 1. And so other than that in the proposal, it also had a couple deflationary metrics. On Songbird, you have 90 days to collect your reward for delegating to an FTSO. If you don't collect your reward after 90 days, it goes back into the pool of rewards to be handed out to the FTSOs and for people to be collected for delegating. On Flare, they're burning it. So if you don't collect your tokens in 90 days, there's a deflationary aspect where the token's actually just burnt now. And so I think that's pretty cool because there was like something like 30 million tokens a week that was being not collected on Songbird. It was blowing my mind. It still blows my mind that it still happens every week. And so this will be a little deflationary aspect on Flare, I think. But the proposal for sure, I'm voting yes because doesn't make any sense to me why I would say, why would I want the exchanges to partake in this for the next 2 to 3 years for the chance that an exchange goes down and then none of the people who were supposed to get the tokens from that exchange will even get the tokens for the next 2 to 3 years? It doesn't make any sense to me why I wouldn't vote yes to get rid of them. And on top of it, reward those who participate in the network much more. What do you think? You voting? Oh, sorry, Lady K.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say, I've heard that like 1 for 7 a couple different places. I don't know where they're getting the math, but I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, so I think it's like you figure 45 billion tokens, right? It's going to be, I mean, the max supply is 100, but there's 45 billion tokens that will be circulating supply. 15% of that will get released at first, and I don't know. Maybe the math is something from those numbers because you figure if you mash up all the exchanges, which is probably something like 20 billion, 30 billion tokens, probably the majority of it. If they won't delegate and wrap, then that will be left over for everybody else. And so, I don't know. Maybe somebody did some math around that, but yeah, I got my number from somebody else also that said they were like it's a 1.6.6 if these exchanges don't participate.
And I read that proposal they put out where they explain why that change. And they said that they're trying to incentivize people off the blockchain to come in now that they're, servicing all blockchains, right? And I think that that's brilliant because like it does give you an incentive to buy now where you had no incentive before.
Correct. Though right. So there's the plus and a minus. Those who get their initial 15% and are all mad and they go and sell it because they're not going to get the rest and they don't want to participate. The person who buys that and then participates will be able to collect whatever their reward was going to be. And so, yeah, 100% incentivizes new people to also come to the ecosystem and participate. Yep. I love it.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, after the airdrop to the XRP holders, will Flare still be listed on exchanges after that, or is it just going to be limited to the people who are receiving the airdrop for a time being?
Oh no, Flare! This is the thing about like their airdrop being the biggest airdrop that's ever occurred. They're going to be listed on more exchanges than almost any token I know of for an initial distribution because of this. It's an interesting dynamic. Like yeah, even the initial Songbird airdrop, there's never been a larger airdrop than Songbird so far, having to do with exchanges. It's very interesting how they all participated. Hopefully Coinbase hands out people's Flare and Songbird, because they haven't handed out anybody's Songbird yet, which is, I think they're the only exchange that hasn't done it. So that's pretty crappy on them, but it would be nice if people get a double whammy there, get two different tokens. As well, if everybody also wants to, you can also connect to the Flare network already. You can go to Flare Networks, the Explorer. If you type in Flare Explorer, it'll pop right up on your search engine, and you can attach your wallet if you have MetaMask. If you have Bifrost, it's already an option there. They've already attached the RPC if you've updated your the wallet. But if you have MetaMask, I can also send you the link for the RPC information so you can hook up your custom network on MetaMask. It's all pretty much ready to go. It's really just waiting for enough FTSOs to feel comfortable for Flare team to say, all right, we're going to step back, do token distribution, and that's it. Because once they step back, that's it. I mean, that's network is open source. It's up to everybody of the community to take care of. And so if there's a problem or something persists, right, it's up to everybody of the dev community to do something. They won't be able to change anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'd appreciate if you sent me the link personally.
Yeah. Just message me. So any other questions? Anybody else is wondering about the network? Anything that I've went over this entire time that you'd like me to go back over? Or any future questions of what you think might happen? I'd love to hear it.
I just want to say thanks so much, Steph, for informing us on Flare and everything. So much complicated with the Songbird and so much to keep track on and everything. So thanks, Steph.
It is a lot, and that's probably the biggest reason of why I tried to start where Songbird was, and almost like this timeline of where they were and where they are today, because I think it speaks measures to their initial thought about what they wanted to do and what they wanted to achieve, and then where they kind of ended up today of what they have achieved. And it's like one of those champion stories, I think, in my mind, because 7 years of hard work is really where they've been at, and I'm impressed to see it go live. I'm excited for it. It's a lot of things going on this month, and I think that'll be just one of the great things to watch. Hey, Shellfish, go ahead. You don't have to raise your hand. You can interrupt me.
So was there going to be any more information dropped on when you decide to delegate and stuff like that for Songbird, like the breakdown map that one person had put out, or do you know if anything is coming from that?
What do you mean necessarily?
Well, that one person had put down the map, like the roadmap of which delegations were giving what NFTs and stuff like that. Do you know if anybody is updating that, or if there's any new news on that stuff?
Yeah, that's a community effort definitely thing going on, because you're right, there are a lot of FTSOs that, other than just delegation rewards, they offer like their own token as a reward. They offer NFTs. They offer NFTs to be purchased with their tokens, and so there are a couple cool different dynamics, like the X Toads that give the S Ribbits, and all this different metaverse stuff that some of the FTSOs want to achieve. There is not a good list for it, and I think I was speaking to somebody the other day who actually was building a list for it. So it's not done yet, and I guess it kind of will be forever growing, because there'll always be capability for a new FTSO to pop up, and somebody be doing something different. But yeah, we definitely need a nice little infographic with just everything laid out for what they do. If though you guys would like to check out the FTSOs, you can go to flaremetrics.io. And so it has all of the FTSOs there. You can even click on their website and go and search on their website. There's about 100 FTSOs though, so it's a good amount of research if you do that. But you can see all the price feed their price feed data, how accurate they are, the statistics on the tokens of the network, how many tokens get rewarded every epoch, and all sorts of various different information that's pretty cool. As well as you can check your rewards. If you put your address in there, it'll show you all of the rewards and FTSOs that you've delegated to from the beginning span of the network. I'm waiting for somebody to have a nice little like tax tool built for this so that you can kind of like calculate all of the taxes instantaneously as well. I haven't seen one yet, but I hope so soon. Probably like a Coinly or something like that will do that. But yeah, look, you can go like reward
Karma
epoch.
won't do that.
Isn't that expired rewards for epoch number 50 was 84 million songbird. So in the aspect of Flare, that 84 million songbird, instead of going back into the pool for people to collect, that would just be burned. And I really like that as a deflationary metric. I think that was really smart to do.
Hey guys.
Hey, welcome up, Ismark.
Hey man. Hey, so I just want to throw in a few things right quick for people wanting to get information. There's a handful of Twitter uh, communities where people can go and then get in touch with people who are following up with what Flair and Songbird is doing. They can check out the Songbird community and then also Flair community. If
Yeah.
just in case, yeah, they wanna see what's going on, it's a good place to start.
Oh,
So
thank you
yeah,
for calling us out. So I'm actually John Flare Community, right? I'm the mod for his Discord, right? And I'm actually he's a good friend of mine.
yeah, huge fan of
Yeah,
huge fan, man.
and Songbird Community very.
Sid?
Sorry about that, Bob. Just give me 1 second there. Songbird Community actually he was a nice guy, and he got overwhelmed by the space, and so he
Yeah,
pulled back and he sold his Twitter account. I can't remember who he sold his Twitter account to, but they've been representing it pretty well and trying to get the name out for all of the projects. But yeah, Songbird Community is a good one to follow as well. I agree. Thank you for coming up and saying that, Bismarck.
sure, fantastic. All right, take care, guys.
No, thank you. You're more than welcome to stay up if you'd like.
Sure.
And Bob, I'm sorry for muting you there for a second. I just had some crazy feedback, but if you'd like, you feel free to speak up.
And, I think the network is very bad over here, so I'm not really getting what you guys are saying.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
I can't
I
hear
can't
you.
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you guys clearly at all. I'm not getting it clear over here. Can you hear me?
Huh. All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, if there's any last minute questions, if anybody just came to the space, if they have any questions about Flare, Songbird, please feel free to come up. If not, we'll probably end up and closing out the space. Also, if you guys are can't speak or don't want to come up, you can feel free to hit the bubble button at the bottom right, and you can type your question over there. I noticed that it highlights actually when somebody types something over there now, so that's a little nicer to notice. What about you two, Cold? How do you feel about the information?
Songbird and Flare is a lot to unpack, especially if you're not well versed in on that blockchain. So you do you do share the information very well, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, shout out to you. Definitely.
Death, do you feel comfortable with the Flare finance team yet? Or are you still hesitant?
Well, so there's definitely aspects of the Flare Finance team that I find more comfortable than other things. Like the DApp itself, the loaning platform, and the stability pool, and the different structures they have. It's a kind of a chicken and egg problem, right? There are definitely some problems that are going on. Liquidity issues that are probably the biggest problem, right? Because when there's a lot of liquidity, it just makes things easier and it's just for systems to work, right? Um, the team itself, they got rid of some of the people that I did not like on the team. Thanasimos, you know how Bismarck spoke about John earlier for the community. Thanasimos comes into the chat every Thursday with us. He spends an hour and a half, 2 hours with us. We ask him a lot of questions. In that aspect, I feel a little bit more comfortable that we definitely have, say something happens. I know somebody to at least say what the heck is going on, and they've been doxxed, so they're a little bit more public and stuff now. So yeah, I feel a little bit more comfortable with them as a team. The DApp itself, there's still problems. I think the farm is a fun aspect, but it's more of they're just kind of handing you out a token that has comes from nowhere, right? So it's really only if the belief in the application survives, those tokens will be valued because they're governance tokens. So um, it's the beginning though. It's the beginning for them. I think Flare with the wrapping of assets will bring a lot of liquidity. They also have different products like the APY cloud and other products, financial products like Flare Mine and stuff like that to reward people for being able to bring computational data over and just in case Bitcoin and other proof of work chains maybe don't work out too well and there's people with miners just left over. But yeah, it's it's definitely the beginning of financial applications on Flare. And so we have FLR Finance as the first, but there's a lot more coming, like Singularity and Olaf Finance. We have Blaze Swap as a DEX, which is going to be also it's going to be a DEX with the ability to wrap assets and earn tokens on Blaze Swap. So you can think of that as a little bit of a financial product as a DApp. So there's definitely a good amount of stuff that exists. Also, Oracle Swap, you could think of that as a financial application or a DApp also too.
Did you mean Singularity as an AGI, or
No,
is
no,
that another thing?
yeah, completely. So it's a very popular word, Singularity, but that's Singularity.
Okay.
Yeah, this would be Singularity.net is what their name is. Yeah. But yeah, that's an important aspect. You're right. I didn't really go over too much. Is a lot of the projects and dApps that already exist on Songbird and that will exist on Flare right away. Yeah, for sure. There's already like a couple card games. Like I think there's the Coins Club, Coinies Club, which is like he's also the creators of the SGB Potatoes and the Coinies Club cards, which are like a card. It's like a card game on a board. They have the Cooties. They're gonna have a game soon. I'm pretty sure. There's a couple cool little things going on so far. I'm very excited to watch this ecosystem grow.
Yo, Ranger, I'm gonna get hopping off, but thank you for bringing me up and thank you for answering my questions, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. No, I thank you for coming up. And I thank everybody for coming up who came up today and asked questions. And this was my first space that I've done on the solo, and I know how Karma feels now when I'm not here. It's not the easiest thing to do a solo space as host, but I really do thank everybody who came up, made it a little bit easier on me. This was a fun topic for me for sure.
You know the man. You know the.
Yeah,
You
you
know
did
the.
a great
Yeah.
death.
You know. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you. And listen, if anybody has questions after this, I mean, my DMs are always open. I'm on Discord, right? There's always a way to reach either me or Karma, and we'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure if Karma will be here. He will probably still be in Apex, but I will be here 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. I am pretty sure we're going to be hosting the space tomorrow. But I love you guys. I thank everybody for coming out, and yeah, it was a great space. I had fun. I hope everybody else had fun. If I could just ask if you could follow us at ledgerscale retweet the space, that hopefully other people can find this information valuable in the future.